Hello everyone and welcome back to Team Vikavolt's YouTube channel. Since the absolutely cinematic finals of NAIC 2026 in New Orleans a few weeks ago, there has not been much to report on. NAIC was largely Dragapult EX's tournament, which caused every other deck to have to center around countering the deck archetype. It was its own semi-isolated meta, much like World Championships will be its own isolated event. Thus, we currently find ourselves in the seasonal, sort of quiet part of the season, when the elite players headed to World Championships in August are all squirreled away and cooking up the best possible 60 for the cumulative event of the year. You can feel the excitement as a competitive Pokemon TCG player, but it also leaves the rest of us in a twilight to the season where creativity and deck building tends to shine. Without much pressure to perform well competitively, typical Pokemon TCG players are able to breathe a bit outside of the vacuum of the metagame and flex their creative muscles online and at sparse in-person events. In my opinion, it is truly a special time in the competitive season. It's at this juncture in time that I personally start to muse over what I deem pet decks. Recently, I got the urge to try and build an Erika's Vileplume EX deck, since Vileplume is one of my favorite Pokemon, and see what it could do on the PTCG Live ranked ladder, only to soon come to the harsh realization that cutting the plume and just focusing on Erika's Victreebel was the way to go with the deck. So today's video features some rare unscripted gameplay of mine piloting the deck in the admittedly low rungs of the ranked ladder. I don't play online very much, actually. I mostly play and test in real life, which is why I'm not very high on the ranked ladder. So for all it's worth, or for what it's worth, please enjoy the list. If you want to give it a try, it will be placed in the description of this video for your enjoyment. And now enjoy the gameplay as I sign off on this portion of the video. Hey everybody, feels kind of weird to go off script for the first time in a really long time, but we are gonna jump into some games here. You're gonna notice that I'm much less fluent much less fluid with my speaking when it comes to just live narration. People who have been around for Team Vikavolt's YouTube channel for the beginning or the middle or whatever, you should know that the whole script situation is a pretty new development, but it's kind of nice to sort of let my hair down, so to speak, and just talk to everybody here. So here we are, like I mentioned in the intro, playing Erika's, I guess it was supposed to be Erika's Vileplume EX, but it turns out Vileplume EX really doesn't do very much for you. It's kind of like a two-prize liability, believe it or not. So I kind of opted for the single prized, very basic build. Again, the list is in the description below, and it's just gonna center around Erika's Tangela and also one copy of Budew and some Erika's Victreebel. So in this game we are actually going up against none other than Hydreigon EX. Even though we're in the low part of the ranked ladder here, there's still a lot of very interesting hyper creative sorts of decks. You can tell that everybody's having a lot of fun with the TCG right now, leading up to World Championships. So with Erika's Tangela, it has an ability that lets you, I'm using it right now in the video, it lets you fish out an Erika's Pokemon straight from the deck and put it in your hand, which is great for the strategy of it all. Basically it's like I combine Forest of Vitality, which allows you to, as long as it's not your first turn, it allows you to directly evolve up your grass Pokemon. You get to break the rules of evolution for your grass Pokemon as long as that stadium is in play. And so getting Victreebel is pretty easy. I do have some copies of Crispin as well, just for quick setup, even more, more consistent setup with Erika's Victreebel, since this build that I came up with doesn't really have a lot of draw power. I mean, admittedly, it is a whole lot of Lillie's Determination and Prey. So, but there is a ton of search, in this deck, as you'll find in the deck list below. So by no means is this deck 100% perfected, high competitive or anything. It's just really fun and it functions. And so that's kind of the point of the video here today as we go up against Hydreigon EX. So my opponent is going to be drawing a bunch of cards with Runaway Draw with the Dunsparce. They got a Battle Cage, Full Art Battle Cage Stadium card. It's really irrelevant. It just keeps me from being able to move damage counters, but I'm not playing Monkey Dory, so it doesn't really matter. I've noticed that there's a good surprise factor playing Erika's, and it's not a bad deck. Like, it does some pretty decent damage, as we'll see here later in the match. Believe it or not, the match is actually sped up a little bit. So we were both playing like even slower than this. Mostly it was like the loading time from at least my end of things. But yeah, so Erika's Victreebel going up against a dark type deck, like we're able to do like up to 400 damage because of weakness, because they are double weak to grass types, which is awesome. Playing Lillie's Determination to get a fresh 8 cards. You see the Forest of Vitality. We got the Air Balloon, which is great for getting the Tangela out of the active. It does tend to get stuck in the active every now and again. But really, with the pace of the format, at least in these lower rungs, I guess I should say, it's pretty slow. And so you kind of have time to like sit in the active for a little while. In testing outside of recording for this video, I've gone up against Mega Lucario EX, and I've been able to beat Mega Lucario EX. And I've been able to... I don't think I was able to beat a Dragapult. There is a Dragapult, spoiler alert, later in the video after this Hydreigon EX match. Because I figured people would be a little bit curious, like, oh, well, how does it do against Dragapult? How does anything do against Dragapult? You tell me. You tell me. But anyhow, we're up against Hydreigon EX. As you can see, my hand is like pretty much stacked. Like, I'm pretty much set up. This is about as much as it does. And it's a little bit anticlimactic. Like, you might think to yourself, oh, really? That's it? Like, that's all the Pokemon you have? Like, that's it? But yeah, that is actually it. Victreebel puts in a ton of work. Budew does a great job of slowing things down right here. I use Itchy Pollen. I don't really care about the 10 damage. Really, I just wanted to keep my opponent from being able to play Rare Candy to be able to get into the Hydreigon EX, because I wasn't quite ready to start attacking yet. I don't think it was the wrong decision to wait on the Air Balloon to get the Tangela out of the active spot and just continue to get set up with Victreebel. I think that was ultimately the right play. But it did mean that Erika's Tangela just kind of sat there looking cute for a really long time. So I'm retreating the Budew, and I'm going to go ahead and just target down that, what is it, a Dano? Because it has too much energy on it, and I really don't want them to use the second attack that lets them get an extra prize card, because then they're just going to steamroll me. So I just caught it early. Thankfully, I had the boss. And I did a very unnecessary 400 damage to that poor little Dano and sent it to the discard pile. And so now my opponent is just like absolutely behind. It's a lot of draw with Runaway Draw, but there's not a whole lot of substance to it because they're not really able to like accelerate the energy that they need. I'll show it here on the screen. Here it is. Here's the Hydreigon EX. I'll show it here in a second, but it's like it has a very awkward attack cost, and I'm not saying it's impossible to pay, but it is pretty awkward. So we have Crashing Headbutt does 200 damage for a dark and a colorless, which is pretty cool, and you discard the top cards of your opponent's deck. And then the second attack, it does allow you to take an extra prize card if you knocked out your opponent's Pokemon with that attack. So it can be a little bit scary when it comes to this particular matchup, but we have the benefit of being able to hit for ×2 because of Hydreigon EX's weakness. And then even without the weakness, we're able to do, like right here on the screen right now, we're doing it's 40 times each Erika's Pokemon. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 200 damage. So it's enough to knock out this Meowth EX. Even without weakness. Like, it's not like we have to depend on the weakness in order to actually like pick up prizes. So it's really fast. It's very simple, like incredibly simple deck. And you kind of just like set it up and hope it goes well. It doesn't move damage counters, it doesn't drop damage counters, it doesn't pick up Pokemon, it doesn't switch between a 2-prizer and a 1-prizer. It's just very vanilla sort of a deck. Keep it simple. So 200 damage on the Meowth EX, and we're going to pick up 2 more prizes. And so we're up 3 prizes at this point with my super awesome Pokemon Team Challenge digital sleeves. For those of you who were playing PTCG online, I think. It was before live became a thing, but Pokemon Trading Card Game Online, they had this really cool, the Pokemon Company, it was official, sponsored this really cool card shop tournament to see like what was the best card shop with the best trading card game team in the country for those that participated in the team challenge. And everybody, it was pretty cool. It was like every single card shop held their own tournament to determine who would make up the team to represent the card shop. And so it was an online tournament, and this is like when online tournaments are like a brand new thing. And so it was very new. It was during, during the lockdown era a few years back. And yeah, so I competed. I did not get chosen for the team. Shout out Etten Games. Didn't make it to the finals, so I didn't make the team, but I did get some pretty cool digital cosmetics for, competing. So that's pretty cool. A little bit of a clout sort of a thing. So we're getting smacked for 200 damage. They don't get the extra prize card with the Hydreigon EX. And thankfully I have the Forest of Vitality, I have the Erika's Weepinbell, I have 2 energy on the Bellsprout, and I have the Erika's Victreebel as well. And so I'm ready to just put down Forest of Vitality and evolve straight up. And then I figured let's not waste time. Let me show you what I can do here. And so just to demonstrate to my opponent that they're probably not going to win, I went ahead and put down the Erika's Bellsprout. I used Lana's aid to fish out Erika's Weepinbell and Erika's Victreebel and an energy. And then I just start evolving up because of the effect of Force of Vitality, allowing me to break the rules. And my opponent just scoops. And we go into Dragapult EX. Here we go. Just boom, fast cut. So we won that first one. Pretty cool. And this is really the one, this is probably the feature match of the video, to really see how this deck holds up against Dragapult. I went ahead and played it out for recording purposes, but I will say that PTCG Live did do a ton of shenanigans to me during this game, and the deck ran really, really trashy, even though I don't think that this build that I've created is really a trash build. So PTCG Live, doing PTCG Live shenanigans, that's what I think is happening here. But nonetheless, we're playing against Dragapult. You, the viewer, probably really want to see how this works out. How is this gonna go? So I'm going for the bug catching set. But I'm gonna put down the Buddy-Buddy Poffin. I get the Budew. And then once again, that Erika's Tangela is stuck in the active spot, and it has a retreat cost of 2. If I made any adjustments, I would maybe put another Air Balloon into the deck just to be able to get these Erika's Tangelas out of the active spot, because they do tend to get stuck there. Or maybe even change the counts between the Budews and the Erika's Tangelas. We see the Crushing Hammer coming down. I have said it for years. Crushing Hammer crushes dreams. You just never know whose dreams it crushes. This time it was my dreams. They got rid of the grass energy on my poor Erika's Tangela. And they evolve up into Dracloak, and they do some recon directive. And then they play their, double bread, Buddy-Buddy Poffin. And then at this point, I see that they're playing the Duskull build, the Cursed Blast build, and I'm just oh man, for real, this is not good, because I don't have Psyduck in the deck. I just don't know if it's a good idea to put it on the bench, because you kind of need your bench space to be able to have your damage output with Erika's Victreebel. And so I did think about putting the Psyduck for this very occasion, but I decided, let me just, cut all that stuff and just keep it really simple and just hope And so here I am using Tangela to get a bunch of plants out of my deck, and then Forest of Vitality is letting me evolve right up into Victreebel, but I don't have any energy. But I do have the Crispin, though. I do have the Crispin, so that's good. If I can get out of the active spot somehow, some way, I should be able to start, churning out some damage. But as we're gonna see here, that's a little bit hard to do when PTCG Live just wants to brick your entire deck for the duration of a match against Dragapult EX. That's just what it does. It's what PTCG Live is most efficient at doing, is picking a deck to brick. Dragapult EX, however, does not brick. It just does what it does. The honey badger of the standard format is Dragapult EX. All my lizard lords out there, and then everybody who's not a lizard lord, you still know. So they're playing a Crispin of their own, accelerating energy. I'm sure that they're very proud of that. And they're just going to do 70 damage to me just to get some damage on the board and maybe set up some knockouts. So I have a Rare Candy. Interesting thing that I should probably mention is that Rare Candy does not work in conjunction with Forest of Vitality. And yes, I did know that before going into the game. So Rare Candy explicitly states that you cannot use it on the first turn that a Pokemon was put into play, which means that you are unable, because of the text on Rare Candy, you are unable to go from like Erika's Bellsprout straight into Erika's Victreebel with Forest of Vitality, because Rare Candy conflicts with the text on Forest of Vitality. So just a little bit of a word to the wise out there, like you can't just go, oh, Rare Candy, boom. It doesn't work that way. You have to go up to the stage 1 Weepinbell and then the stage 2 Victreebel with Force of Vitality if that's what you want to do. But in order to have a little bit of maneuverability, a little bit of, more options, I went ahead and put, I think it's like 2 copies of Rare Candy in there just in case I didn't have the Vitality, Forest of Vitality. And I still needed to evolve up into Victreebel in a quick manner, and so that's why Rare Candy is still included in the list. Maybe it could be cut. I mean, I don't know, but just in my testing and quick testing and building the deck, that's kind of what I went with. And so Dragapult is doing a bunch of recon directives, looking at stuff. Another Crushing Hammer crushes dreams. It does not crush my dreams this turn like it did that previous turn they played one. Super sweet gold rare Crushing Hammers, but they do fire off the Curse Blast, get rid of the pesky Budew, which is unfortunate because that's my free retreater. But if it's any consolation, they did give me a Crispin out of the prizes with the Curse Blast ability. They do have to knock themselves out for that, so they do give me a prize. And we are at 5 and 5 prizes at this point. But see the Meowth EX with the Last Ditch Catch ability. Play it from your hand to the bench, and then you get to fish out any supporter. Lily's Determination is their choice. And they're just going to go ahead and just refresh their hand, because why not? I mean, really, they're fully set up here. They got the Pokepads. They're getting a Dusknoir, and because Budew is no longer in the picture, they don't really have to worry about not being able to use Rare Candy or, anything like that. So they're pretty much in control of the momentum, and really it's like, because they haven't evolved into Dragapult EX yet, I personally was having trouble finding at what point is Lily's Clefairy EX a good idea to put into play, because I guess it's just kind of the Dragapult EX effect. Like you kind of naturally second guess yourself because Dragapult is able to do basically whatever it wants. I was really afraid, like, okay, if I put down Lily's Clefairy EX and then I Crispin onto Lily's Clefairy EX, that they're just going to gust it up and I'm going to give them 2 prizes. And then they're just going to have an even easier time sweeping, my whole board. And so I was really tentative about playing down the Lily's Clefairy EX because they had no Dragapult EXs in play. I mean, I had the combo in hand. I just didn't really want to put it down because I didn't want to open up the opportunity for them to just target it down, and it was like a wasted turn. So really, really good playing, piloting of Dragapult on my opponent's side. Like really, 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 they're just like playing against a deck that's very niche, very unusual, and they're able to just read it like a book, which is what you should, you know, what kind of like the level of understanding that I think maybe somebody should be at if they're thinking of playing Dragapult EX. You can tell they play a lot of Dragapult EX. So Crushing Hammer, crushing my dreams. And then another Crushing Hammer. This is like the third Crushing Hammer, and it's a Tails. And so far we do have like a 50-50 probability, more or less. And then Jamming Tower going down, really just to bump the stadium so that I can't just keep evolving up. But thankfully I do have another Forest of Vitality in my hand. It's not that big of a deal. And then finally we see some Dragapult EXs hitting the field. I do still have the combo, but I don't have a free retreater, and so pivoting is really, really weird. Even if I had the Air Balloon, you know, Jamming Tower negates the effect of Air Balloon. I guess I could bump it with Forest of Vitality, but I don't have the Air Balloon. It's not there, so no real point in trying to consider it. I do have Boss's Orders, but Pheasantipity EX is not double weak to grass. I mean, either way, Dragapult just is in the advantageous position. So we see the Phantom Dive, 200 damage to the active. That's one prize, and then 60 onto my poor little Bellsprout. Didn't get to grow up big and strong into an Erika's Victreebel. And I have to decide, what am I going to promote? I guess I'll give him a Tangela because, you know, I'm not getting an Oko. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I could bump the stadium. I could put down the Lilies, but I don't have a way to retreat. That's the problem. I don't have a way to retreat. If I had a better way to get the Tangelas out of the active spot, then, you know, I'd be up and rolling with that Lily's Clefairy. I'd be like, oh, thank you for my 2 prizes. And that would have been great. I think that's really my big hang up here at this point in the game is I don't have a way to retreat because they moved... not because they moved the energy, but just because Tangela has such an awkward retreat cost. It's like, what do I do? I want to get the Lily's Clefairy in there, but because I can't get this Tangela out of the way, I can't really get back in the game. And so I kind of, you know, ended up tangling myself up because I just didn't have the Air Balloon. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me just use the attack. Bind does 50 damage, which I know that they're just going to throw right back at me with Monkey Dory, but it has the possibility of paralyzing them, so maybe I can just at least make it difficult for Dragapult to do what it needs to do. Crispin onto Victreebel, hoping that maybe I can get like a 2-shot or a 3-shot if I'm lucky with the paralysis. On this Dragapult EX and maybe prize trade. Just trying to shuffle the deck, really. That's really what I'm doing. I'm just trying to shuffle the deck digitally by using the ability. So 50 damage, coin flip, and I do get the paralysis, which is super cool. I love it when you see it. Love to see it, I mean. And of course, like... in 2 seconds, my opponent's like, oh yeah, you want to put 50 damage on me? Well, I'm going to put 30 damage on your other Tangela, because why not? And then they're going to threaten the Duskull to get inside, to get under my skin, which is working at this point. I was very frustrated playing this matchup because I was playing really late at night. It's been pretty tough to make videos lately. Just really haven't had the time. It's almost been like a whole other month since my last upload, and you know, that's why I figured, no, you know, if I'm gonna make a video, let's make it a little bit longer so people can enjoy. Risky Ruins coming down here. Risky Ruins, of course, is a stadium card that states that if you put down a Pokemon from your hand to your bench, that is, oh, there's an Air Balloon, finally. If you put a Pokemon from your hand to your bench that is not a dark type Pokemon, you have to put, I believe it's 3 damage counters on it. 3 damage counters. And I opt to just start threatening the Victreebel to get some other types of damage down. I'm going to go ahead and put down the boss's orders, target down maybe something I can knock out, try to get a favorable prize trade that way. I do put down the Lillie's EX because this is pretty much my time to do so. It's 20 damage, by the way, from Risky Ruins. And I am able to do enough damage to knock out the Meowth and get 2 prizes, which is cool. But then again, you know, it's like all they do is Phantom Dive. All they do is Phantom Dive. They get 1 prize off of the knockout on the Erika's Victreebel. And then they are going to drop the rest of the damage counters to take out a Tangela. And that's going to be pretty much the game. So there's 2 games with Erika's Victreebel. Try the list, tinker with it if you'd like as the game here closes out. And I want to thank everybody for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, you're awesome. And I appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and peace out. Bye-bye.